Hello, FPL Lisa, another FPL content creator. Thanks for joining in. How are you? Testing some new graphics ahead of the 25-26 season. Please let me know if the sound is okay, my voice and the music as well. Happy I caught the stream. How are you? I'm fine, thanks. I hadn't really planned a stream today. I was just making the graphics. My plan was actually to have my first stream next Thursday, the day before the deadline, but just wanted to test the graphics, so hopefully they are fine. It was really hard to fit the FPL page into the screen, to be honest, so on my screen it's quite small. It's kind of hard to read the text. I think I need to do some adjustments to the graphics before game week 1, to be honest. I somehow need to get the team selection page to be a bit bigger, and maybe I need to take away something on the left hand side. Actually made a couple of changes to my FPL team today. Yes, this is my team. Current plan is actually to use bench boost in game week 2. This is why I have Arias on my bench. I had a 4.5 fodder last on my bench, but upgraded him to Arias with the plan to bench boost in game week 2. I think this is a viable strategy at the moment, especially if Dubravka is ready to play in game week 1. Good fixture for Burnley in game week 2. I have both Dubravka and Esteve for that fixture, and will bench boost Arias and Konsa as well. So hopefully this is a good strategy. I usually play my bench boost in double game weeks, but I don't think we'll get a double game week before game week 19. So my plan is actually to get the bench boost out of the way so I can start downgrading and having a 4.5. It will be either a 4.5 midfielder or 4.5 forward. It will be really interesting to see if Guihi can start for Sunderland after his transfer from Chelsea. I like it. Thanks. Hopefully, this team will do well. Hoping for a good start this year. Actually, last season I had a terrible start to. Yeah, no double unless something crazy happens. I had a terrible start last season. Started with Mo Salah and no Erling Haaland. So obviously, last season Haaland did really well in the first 5 game weeks. Was it 6 game weeks? I think I bought Erling Haaland in for game week 6, and all of a sudden he stopped scoring, and Mo Salah went crazy. So I really got on the wrong end of the Haaland Salah last season. So hopefully I will get it right and have a decent start. I don't necessarily think that we need to be in top 10k in the first 5 to 10 game weeks, but I think I was something like 4 million, 5 million, something like that in game week 7. So and you're risking it again. Yeah, I think that actually my first route this season had no Haaland nor Salah, so at least at the moment I have Mo Salah in my team. So I don't think that the risk is that big this season because Erling Haaland's ownership is only around 20%, so the risk is not that big this season. So I really check this ownership for a couple of days, but let's have a quick look. Erling Haaland. He's currently owned by 20.5% of the managers, so the risk is not that big starting the season without Erling Haaland this year. He will potentially be captained by some of his owners, so his effective ownership can potentially go up to 40. Will be some triple captains as well, but I think in the opening last year, he came in, I think his ownership was like 70, something like that. When the game launched last season, he was like 90% owned, so he was much more popular last season. So where do I send my team? If you're interested to get your team on the screen, just post your team ID and I will try to get your team up on the screen and we'll discuss it. I haven't really done this for a while, so bear with me. I started doing some live streams last season, but to admit that I have a lot to learn about those live streams. But if you're interested in discussion around your own team, just send me your team ID and I'll try to get your team up on the screen. Yeah, the hype for him has dropped off. I certainly think that he is, of course, one of the favorites to win the Golden Boot this season as well. So he is the bookie's favorite for top goal scorer in the Premier League. So he will definitely score a lot of goals. But at 14 million, I think we can use those funds in a better way. One of the things I don't like about my team at the moment is the lack of Arsenal. The game in game week 1 against Man United can go either way, but in game week 2, Arsenal really good fixture against Leeds. So I've actually had Saka since the game launched, but sold him to fit in Mo Salah. So Mo Salah is in. I'm tempted by Saka as well, but currently on Mo Salah. He's the bookie's anytime goal scorer in bookie's favorite for anytime goal scorer in game week 1, and he will be heavily captain. I think we can see Mo Salah at around 100% effective ownership in game week 1. West Ham signing a new keeper. West Ham, actually, I read something about them putting in a bid for the Botafogo goalkeeper John. I watched him a couple of games during the Club World Cup, and he looked pretty good, but I haven't really seen any news. This was like 2 or 3 days ago, so I haven't really read any updates, but I'm not sure if John is a better goalkeeper than Areola. So even if West Ham sign John, I think that Areola still will be the first choice goalkeeper. It's hard to go without any Arsenal. Yeah, definitely agree, but of course there is the possibility of upgrade Jared Bowen to Gyökeres, or of course Watkins straight swap. Both are 9 million. At that moment, I really like Watkins, and I like Jared Bowen as well, seeing that game week 1 against Sunderland. Both of them have had good preseasons as well. Gyökeres, he just recently joined Arsenal. It didn't really impress me in the first friendly for Arsenal. Okay, let's see if I can get your team up on the screen. 45. Bear with me, guys. I haven't done this in a while. So, page not found, sorry, but the page you were looking for can't be found. At least I found your rank history, but I'm not sure where to go to find your team at the moment. Well, that was a flop. Sorry for the delay, guys. Need to get that team up on the screen. Oh man. Well, that was a lot harder than I thought, to be honest. Really sorry, guys. Just have to bear with me. So, I'm not sure what happened, but usually last season I had the possibility to post your team ID in, and I could get your team up on the screen, but I think this actually only counts for teams when, so I can see how you did last game week. So since this is game week 1, I don't think this is an option at the moment. So try to check your team over at X, but of course somehow, and I'm not sure what has happened, but I was logged out of X. I haven't logged in or out for months, but your team is on the screen, so let's have a look. Hopefully this is okay. So Keller in goal. My first thought when it comes to Keller is you have to watch the press conference before game week 1, because Keller did actually not play in the last friendly for Brentford, so he might actually be injured. Valdimarsson started for Brentford. Williams, Diouf, Virgil van Dijk, really strong back three. Actually, I have Diouf in my team at the moment. Van Dijk is on my watch list. I really like Williams at 5 million as well. Mo Salah captain, really solid. Bruno Fernandes, one of the players I'd love to fit in as well. Rodgers, same as with Kelleher. Pay attention, he might be injured. And Doy, um, of course, you have two punts in midfield, both Dewsbury Hall and Doy. Could go either way, but you have to have some of those players if you want to fit both Mo Salah and Erling Haaland. As I can see up front, you have Erling Haaland and Joao Pedro. I'm really not a fan of Joao Pedro. 7.5, really good price. He did well in the Club World Cup, of course. So he will probably start for Chelsea, but the lap will probably eat into his minutes. So if you think that 70 minutes is enough for Joao Pedro to deliver, then of course. Other thing I don't like about Joao Pedro is his ownership. So 50% not on set pieces will potentially play 65, 70 minutes. Decent bench. Dubravka will probably be the starting goalkeeper for Burnley. Anderson is a really good 4.5 option on my watch list as well. Marquis will potentially start for Sunderland. The rumors says that he at least will get some minutes, so could be, of course, a really interesting option if you get a starting 4.5 forward. This team is decent. You have to make some compromises to fit in both Mo Salah and Erling Haaland. I'm actually not a fan of having them both, to be honest. You can only captain one of them, so I think that this team is relying on both Mo Salah and Haaland, of course. If they do really well, you will get a good start, but you also need your punts to deliver, and Dewsbury Hall. I definitely will try to find another way to review your teams, but I'm still learning, so hopefully you can see the visuals on your screen. But Isaki, hopefully you set my team on your latest tweet as well. Let's have a look. So thanks for sending in teams. This is the next team. Sanchez in goal. I actually made a couple of changes to my team today, so Sanchez is my goalkeeper as well. 5 at the back, 4 in midfield, 1 up front. So this team is really defender heavy. Let's have a look. You have Virgil van Dijk, Guardiola, and Gabriel all priced at 6 million, so 18 million on those three. You have Murillo 5.5, and you have a bit more budget friendly, but a really good option in Lacroix as well. My favorite defender from Crystal Palace at the moment is probably Richards or Guehi. Guehi would probably be my choice if I would go for a Crystal Palace defender. Captain nailed on, and Lacroix has an injury history as well. In midfield, Shad a decent punt. I know that I checked earlier today, he's only selected by around 2% of the managers, so he will definitely start on the wing for Brentford, so I think that he is worth a punt. I'm not sure about Jorginho. How many minutes will he get? Is he actually nailed on for Brighton at the moment? So those kind of picks are, in my opinion, a bit unnecessary ahead of game week 1, unless you're a big Brighton fan and know that he definitely will start game week 1. While selecting our teams for game week 1, I definitely like to have nailed on starters for my team. But you have Mo Salah, captain, solid. Cole Palmer as well. I really like him as an option this season at 10.5, and Wood up front. Strong Larson on your bench, so a strong bench. You have the 4.5 potential starter Guihi as well. I would potentially downgrade Django unless you're planning to use your bench boost. And if you're planning to use your bench boost, I know that Kinski has a small chance of starting, but at the moment, I think Vicario is the first choice goalkeeper. So unless you know we get the confirmation that Kinski is the new number 1, I would probably go for someone else. The problem with Kinski is that his ownership started to rise a bit as well. So I think that a lot are expecting him to start. So if he's benched in game week 1, he can potentially drop in price as well. So strong team. I like 5 at the back. Haven't seen it that much this season. I remember a couple of seasons ago when 5 at the back actually was a big thing. Haven't really seen that much of it over at X or in the FPL community. But this team, at least you cover most of the big teams, top 6, the favorites. I would potentially like to have a player from Aston Villa. They have really good fixtures, playing against Newcastle in game week 1, but after this they have really good fixtures. So including one of the Aston Villa boys should be a good tactic. FPL FOMO, sent my team to your Twitter post. Rogers could be Semenyo or Johnson if he's not fit to start game week 1. Might still make defender changes. Let's have a look. FPL FOMO. Thanks for joining in as always. I need to work on a better way to find your teams, of course. I think I actually need to have a look over at YouTube to see how other FPL accounts are managing those kinds of streams, but let's have a look. So the team on the screen at the moment is FPL FOMO. I'll try to make it a bit bigger. Rodgers could be Semenyo Johnson. Yeah, you heard the rumors. Rodgers might potentially miss game week 1. Double Nottingham Forest defense. I've actually seen a lot of this over at X. Murillo, Milenkovic, they can potentially be really good. Of course, they have attacking threat and they will potentially pick up a lot of defensive contribution points. Shaloba, I think this is kind of short term, to be honest. Depends, of course, on how long Colwill is injured, but could be a really good option. Is he 4.5? I haven't really checked Shaloba's price. No, Colwill was 5, but he is injured. Double up with Cole Palmer from Chelsea. Actually, a triple up, you have Sanchez as well, so triple Chelsea. I like it, the captain shout, Cole Palmer. You have Saka, Wirtz, Fernandes. I really like this. This is kind of similar to my team. The first draft I made without Mo Salah and Haaland. Watkins is locked in for me as well. Chris Wood up front. Rodgers, Bruno Fernandes, Wirtz. I think this is a really strong team. You have Dubravka on the bench as well. He will potentially be the starting goalkeeper for Burnley. Esri Konsa, Senesi, and Mark Guehi. So this team can potentially be ready for an early bench boost as well, especially if Dubravka gets the nod at Burnley. I really like this team. Of course, there is a risk going without Mo Salah, but you know this. His ownership will potentially be close to 100% effective ownership in game week 1 at home against Bournemouth. But you have Wirtz to cover him, and this was my thinking as well while I made my first draft. And you have Saka in. I really like having Bukayo Saka ready for game week 2 against Leeds. Solid captain option in game week 2. Tough fixture for Bruno Fernandes, of course, but we've seen this preseason that he has done really well. And even though he's probably playing a bit deeper after the arrival of both Cunha and Mbumo, he's still getting forward and he is still on penalties for Man United. So I think Bruno Fernandes is a really good pick on my watch list, but at the moment I can't really fit him in. Jason Warner, Kudus or NGI? At the moment I'm actually on NGI, mostly because of the penalties. But I think Kudus is a good option. At first I thought that he was a rotation risk, but seeing how many injuries Spurs have at the moment, I definitely think that Kudus will start in game week 1. So Kulusevski is out, Madison is out as well, but they will. I just read today that Thomas Frank said that they will buy new players. So if, of course, depends on who they get, but if those new signings are ready before game week 1, Kudus might go back to being a small rotation risk, but FPL FOMO, I'm going very high risk this season. No Salah or Haaland for the whole season. Bold choice. I agree with FPL Lisa, but I really like the idea of like maximizing your budget and spreading the funds. The thing is that you need to nail down your captaincy close to every week, because if Mo Salah holds in game week 1, your differential captain really needs to match it. Of course, it's possible, and I really like this strategy. I did it actually for most parts of last season, I had to play catch up FPL FOMO. You probably remember I started with Salah and sold Salah and brought in Holland, and all of a sudden Mo Salah went crazy. So I was ranked 4 or 5 million, can't really remember, but I had to play catch up, and at some point I think for like 5 to 6 game weeks I captained Jared Bowen last season. It went well, actually. Ended up being ranked 500k. So, not my best rank, but at least it was a decent climb in the second half of the season. I like to play risky. Rate my team: goalkeepers Sels and Dubravka, defenders Diouf, Kukurea, Dorju, Agbadu, Milenkovic, midfielders Bruno, Palmer, Saka, Gakpo, Esse, and up front Strand Larsen, Watkins, and Fulkrug. Really strong team. Same as FPL FOMO. No Mo Salah, no Haaland in this team. You can see that the depth in this squad is really good. You have Watkins, Fulkrug at 6 million. I think that he potentially can be a really, really good option. You have a double up from Chelsea, Kukurea, 6 million, premium defender, and you have Dorgu. Dorgu did not start at least in Man United's last friendly, so pay attention to this. Agbadu is a really good option in my opinion. Will potentially pick up a lot of defensive contribution points and is a big guy and a threat at set pieces. Same goes for Milenkovic, of course. I like Diouf. He's currently in my team as well. I had Wan-Bissaka, but after West Ham's last friendly, I think that Diouf is worth a punt. His ownership, I really like it as well. It was 2, but it's probably a bit higher, probably like 4%, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. So Dorgu is a bit of a risk. And in midfield, really strong midfield. You will, of course, have a lot of benching dilemmas with this team. And SA, not the best fixtures for Crystal Palace at the start of the season, but I think in game week 1 you can potentially bench Strand Larsen against Man City. So Masterman, definitely no problem playing the bench boost with this team. FPL Lisa after work will be back in an hour if you're still here. We'll see. I'm not really sure. As mentioned, this stream wasn't really planned. It was mostly just to check how the new graphics works and sound, stuff like that. One thing I've learned during this stream is that I need to figure out how to display other players' teams a bit easier. So thanks for joining in, FPL Lisa. Keep up the good work with the videos as well. If you haven't done so already, go check out FPL Lisa's channel. Team selections and doing some other videos with best picks, differential stuff like that, shorts as well. So go check it out if you're interested. Speedy, do you go without Salah and Haaland because you think they're priced too high and think it's better to spread the funds around, or is it just to chase upside? I totally get your question. So this question should be actually go to FPL FOMO, because the team on the screen at the moment is not mine. It's FPL FOMO's team on the screen. So I can't really answer this question at the moment. Mo Salah is actually in my team, but I started with a team without both Haaland and Salah, this was probably mostly because I really like spreading the funds, and I think that there is a big gap between the two most expensive players, Haaland and Salah, and down to Cole Palmer at 10.5. It's actually 3.5 million. So in FPL, that's a lot. So you can see that that price gap is probably a bit high, in my opinion. I'm chasing fun rather than rank this season. Yeah, that's fair. Can't argue with that. So one of the best things about FPL is definitely having a differential doing well, especially if it's your captain. As mentioned, I had Jared Bowen captain for like 5-6 times last season, and I think that at least 4 of those game weeks he did actually quite well. That was really, really satisfying. Tulmera FPL hippie from Blue Sky Hair, thanks for joining in. 1 week to go. I'm really excited for the season, to be honest. I actually spent a lot of time on the Club World Cup, and I think that it was engaging and a fun tournament, but had a bit of a break, didn't really read that much news or spent so much time over at X. So I had a bit of a break, but when they started releasing pictures and prices, I got really excited. So I'm really looking forward to this season. Hopefully it will be a good one. Last season was a disaster for me, as mentioned, but it was fun. But of course, especially since starting this channel to try to give advice and stuff like that, it's not that great starting the season at 5 million. So hopefully Erling Haaland can stay quiet. But as discussed with FP Lisa earlier tonight, there is of course a risk going without Haaland, but the risk was much, much bigger last season, considering Haaland's ownership. Only selected by 20% this season, so if he holds in game week 1, he won't hurt our ranks that much. So Mo Salah, he is the bookie's favorite for anytime goal scorer, 54% home against Bournemouth. Haaland is second, so no surprise, those two are usually quite high on the bookies lists. But a bit surprising to see Ekitiki on third. Of course, it has to do with him potentially starting up front for Liverpool. We saw this with other Liverpool players last season. Darwin Núñez, he was actually usually one of the bookies' favorites, even though we knew he potentially would not start. So I will check out FPL Lisa's channel later. Not seeing this one. So we should pay attention. One of the most selected assets rumored to be injured. It's Keller, the goalkeeper. So if you have Keller in your team, pay attention. He might actually miss game week 1. Haven't seen any updated news, but he did not start in Brentford's latest friendly. Valdimarsson started for Brentford in that one, so if you're interested, go join my mini league. The link is in the description down below. Virat, hi, thanks for joining in. If you head over to X and just post a picture of your team, I will get it up on the screen. I tried with the FPL ID, but had no luck, so head over to X. My username is FPLTFS over at X as well. So on my latest tweet about this live stream, just post a picture. Post a picture of your team on X and I will put it up on the screen. At the moment, we see FPL FOMO's team. Should I send in X? Yes, please head over to X. Take a screenshot of your team and post it under my latest tweet. Post, is it? It's not tweet anymore. So while I'm going to try to get Virat's team on the screen, this is my team at the moment. So just head over to X. Yes, please just post your team as a comment on my latest post over at X. Same username as YouTube, it's FPLTFS. On the screen, my team at the moment. I'm not really sure I will start with Marmoush, to be honest, but I really would like to cover the Man City attack, so Marmoush is in at the moment. If you remember my team, can I downgrade Cells to 4.5 million goalkeeper, then Milenkovic to Williams? I get 1 million to upgrade SA to Marmoush. I definitely like this idea. I just spoke about Marmoush. You had no Haaland as well, so going Marmoush is probably a good idea. Of course, Haaland has the penalties. He will start most games as their number 9, but I think that in some games Marmoush will, especially if Haaland's not on the pitch, he will be on most set pieces, so I think Marmoush is a decent option. Of course, 8.5 is not cheap, but seeing he's a regular starter for Man City, I think 8.5 is a good price for Marmoush. His first choice at free kicks De Bruyne has left the club, taking free kicks, corners, so I think that he will pick up some attacking returns from set pieces as well. Of course, the problem is rotation in the Man City side, and he is prone to an early substitution. Even though he starts, he might get hooked at 60 minutes for someone like Doku. But if Grealish leaves, this will probably be good for Marmouche. Done did on X. Thanks, I'll go find your team. There's a fly in my room as well. Fambisaka or other defender. Rogers' injury can't decide when to bench boost. Let's have a look. So Rogers, as mentioned, he is injured, but he has a chance to be ready for game week 1. So we just have to pay attention to the latest news from Aston Villa on his fitness. I think that if he is close to 100% fitness, he will probably start his nailed on for Aston Villa. But of course, there is a chance he will miss game week 1. Kirk is not my favorite defender at the moment. I can actually see some rotation in Liverpool, especially for their fullbacks. They have really good options. They have Frimpong on the right hand side. They have Kirkis. Well, Robinson is still there, so he will definitely get some minutes as well. So I think if you really want to cover the Liverpool defense, in my opinion, Van Dijk is the better option at the moment. Kelleher might be injured as well, did not play in the latest friendly for Brentford, so pay attention to this. Milenkovic, strong option. Fambisaka, of course, really good option. Heavily selected as well, selected by 30% of the managers. After looking at the extended highlights from the West Ham friendlies, I actually like Diouf a bit better. He looks really attacking, solid left foot, and he has looked like a big threat. So should have had 2 assists in the last friendly. So I think that Diouf is worth a punt at the moment. Saka, strong option, especially really good fixture in game week 2. You have Rodgers, we talked about him. Mo Salah, of course. No need for further introduction. Kudus is a solid option as well. Fulkrug up front, 6 million could be a really, really good option. I prefer Jared Bowen, 2 million more, of course, 8 million for Jared Bowen, but I can potentially see Fulkrug starting some of the games on the bench. We saw this last season. So Jared Bowen can potentially play as their number 9, of course. So if they play one up front, Fulkrug might actually be benched. So Chris Wood, of course, strong option, and João Pedro, not my favorite 7.5. I think I'd rather go Solanke or find the funds to upgrade to Watkins. But strong options, you have Dubravka, potentially a starter for Burnley, Saliba on the bench. I don't like having premium players on the bench, to be honest. So if I decided to go with a 6 million defender like Saliba, I would probably just play him every game. STV, good option, especially next game week. And you have Sar as well for Crystal Palace. Good value this season, even though I prefer having SA. But 1 million saved by going Sar. So I think he is a good option as well. And you also had a question about when to use your bench boost. So with this team, you can potentially bench boost whenever you want because you have 15 strong options. I definitely think that game week 2 potentially can be a good game week. You have both Dubravka and Estev, and they have a good fixture. Burnley have a good fixture in game week 2, playing against Sunderland. So game week 2 can potentially be a good game week for a bench boost. I'm doing something similar with my own team, starting with Dubravka and Estev. I have Arias on my bench as well. Tough game in game week 1, but bench boosting in game week 2, and I have the possibility to actually downgrade Arias to a 4.5 to a lot of other upgrades later on. So strong team. There are a couple of question marks in here, to be honest. Pay attention to injuries to Kelleher and Rogers. Kirkis, I'm not a big fan. Same goes for Joe Pedro. And I don't see Fulkrug as 100% secure as well. So there are a couple of question marks as mentioned, but this team can potentially do really well. My advice would be to go for Van Dijk, but of course it's your team, but that's my opinion. So if you're interested in a quick team review or discussion about your team selection, head over to X and post a picture of your team, and I'll get it up on the screen. Need to figure out a better way to do this, so if you have any ideas, please let me know in the comments. I think I need to go over to the professional FPL content creators, the seasoned ones. I think FPL Mate had a live stream today as well, so I'll probably head over and watch a recording of that to see how he get other teams up on the screen. If Rogers' injury get Mal and Kirkis is in my team because Frimpong will be rotate more. Yeah, Frimpong and Bradley will definitely rotate. Bradley, I can't really see him being left out in the cold. He did well last season. He's a local lad. I think that he will get some starts next season, and this of course means that Frimpong will be benched for some games. Kirkis, I think that the same goes for Kirkis and Robertson as well. So the thing with Kirkis is that he's probably a bit safer than Frimpong because Kirkis, he signed from Bournemouth, so he has experience from the Premier League. So of course this could be a really good option. Kirkis, we saw last season, he has attacking threat as well, and he's actually one of those guys that's really good at defending. So when we see attacking fullbacks like Trent, Robinson, they're not like world-class defenders, but Kirkis, he is really good in both ends of the field. So really good player. I'm not sure how good of an option he is after he joined Liverpool, but of course he's worth a punt. Thanks, bro. Joined your league. Thanks. there is actually a prize for the winner as well, so if you have a really good season, you might win £50. I'll put my team back on. So Diouf versus Wan-Bissaka. I actually prefer Diouf. This is my team. As you can see, Diouf, he is in at the moment. Looked really good in the last friendlies. Looks close to nailed on for West Ham at the moment. Fits perfectly for their system, so I think that Diouf is a really good option. He is a bit more differential, of course, than Wan-Bissaka as well, so I think it's worth going for Diouf. I have the Kuiper, the Brentford 4.5. I'm not 100% sold on him, but and Van de Ven, I really like him. He will probably be in my game week 1 team unless there are any injuries. So Van de Ven, I actually like Pedro Porro as well, but if I go for Pedro Porro, it will feel a bit bad benching him. So I like the idea of having a 4.5 Spurs defender that I can easily bench and use the funds in other areas of my team. I have NGI at the moment, 6.5 nailed on starter for Everton on set pieces, including penalties. I have Marmoush to cover the Man City attack, Cole Palmer, Mo Salah, and I have Jared Bowen up front together with Watkins and Welbeck. So I think my team hopefully can give me a strong start this year. I have most of my players are nailed on starters. There is some question marks, of course, about Marmoush. Will he start every game? And I definitely think that he is not a 90 minutes man. So at 8.5, I think it's worth a punt considering Man City's strong attack. They will score a lot of goals, and I think Marmoush will get some attacking returns. So I will probably go without Erling Haaland. So Marmoush is a decent option in my opinion. Cole Palmer, Mo Salah nailed on penalties. I have NGI on penalties as well. Watkins can potentially take penalties. I think it's between Watkins and Tielemans at the moment. Jared Bowen is not the first choice penalty taker, but he is the talisman at West Ham. Paqueta is a really good player and almost at pieces. They also have James Ward-Prowse, of course, but I think at least Jared Bowen is next in line. And Welbeck, of course, if he can stay fit, I will probably start with Welbeck. 6.5. Joe Pedro has left Brighton, so Welbeck is on penalties. So I focused on minutes and penalties, and my defense is not the strongest, but I think that there are a lot of good 4.5 options this season. So I will take advantage of this. And I have Arias on my bench. I actually had a 4.5 fodder, but today I made a couple of changes, and this is because I really want to bench boost in game week 2. So in game week 2, Burnley, they are playing against Sunderland, so I will have Dubravka and Esteve. Arias, decent option, only selected by 2% of the managers, and I have Konsa as well. So Welbeck will be good, and even Strand Larsen. Yeah, I think Strand Larsen is a decent option as well, but at the moment I've actually gone for. I think that Arias is a really exciting pick. Of course, he hasn't played in the Premier League before, but he looked like a really good player when I watched the Fluminense game in the Club World Cup. So he was the talisman at Fluminense on most set pieces, including penalties. So I think that he can do well in the Premier League as well. So in midfield, NGI nailed on penalty taker. Cole Palmer nailed on penalty taker. Mo Salah nailed on penalty taker. Welbeck nailed on penalty taker. And Jared Bowen and Watkins, they're both nailed on, but probably next in line when it comes to penalties. But I think this is a really strong team. And as mentioned, my plan is to bench boost in game week 2. I would actually like to just get the bench boost out of the way. So in game week 4, game week 5, I hopefully can save up a couple of transfers. And if I need to do upgrades, I can potentially sell one of my midfielders or forward. So I can do Welbeck to a 4.5 and upgrade, say, Welbeck to a 4.5 and NGI. I can get someone like Saka, or I can downgrade NGI to a 4.5 and upgrade Welbeck to, let's say, Gyökeres, something like that. So I like to have a 4.5 fodder in my team. So I usually play with 14 strong players and one fodder to allow me to spend more of the budget on 14 players. So this will be an option for me if I use the bench boost early. Milenkovic versus Murillo, City. City mids risk. Yeah, I think Man City, most of the Man City options, they come with a bit of risk, to be honest. But I talked about Marmoush, and I think at 8.5 that he's actually worth the risk. I would like to cover the Man City attack, and by not having Holland, I think Marmoush is the next best option. So with this team, I actually have 0.5 in the bank. So let's go to the transfer page. With this team, I have 0.5 in the bank. My plan is probably to go for Sanchez or Cells. Haven't really decided. I know that the Nottingham Forest defense is heavily selected at the moment. Williams, Cells, Milenkovic, Murillo. So if Nottingham Forest keep a clean sheet, it will be bad for me, but the safe option is probably to go for Cells, sell Areola, and bring in Matt Cells. I'm 60-40, to be honest. I'm leaning towards just getting a Chelsea double up by bringing in Sanchez. let's do a quick poll. Let's see if I can remember how to start a poll. So let me know in the poll, which goalkeeper do you prefer? Is it Sanchez or is it Sells? The safe option for me would probably be Sells. I have no other Nottingham Forest defenders and they will be heavily selected. I kind of like Sanchez and as Chelsea double up. So go vote in the poll. Matt Wheel, thanks for joining in. What's your chip strategy? I haven't really locked in when to use my free hit, but bench boost will most probably be in game week 2. And this is the reason for my team selection at the moment. I have 15 strong players, and especially if Dubravka starts in game week 1 for Burnley, a game week 2 bench boost will be locked in. So I will have Dubravka and Esteve playing for Burnley against Sunderland on my game week 2 bench boost, and I will have Arias and Konsa as well. So I think this is strong enough. I would like to just use my bench boost early. I usually play with 14 strong players and one fodder, so this will be an option for me after using my first bench boost. There are a couple of fixture swings that can potentially be a good time to use the wildcard. I've seen a lot of talk about game week 6 and game week 13, but if I decide to use my bench boost in game week 2, I think I will just have the wildcard as a get out of jail card if I get some injuries, stuff like that, or potentially in game week 13. There are a lot of the big clubs that have really good fixtures from game week 13, so we can potentially use the wildcard in game week 13, and we will get 5 additional transfers before AFCON as well, so this is probably a good strategy. But as mentioned, my chip strategy is not locked in at the moment. I'm leaning towards a game week 2 bench boost, and if I were to use my bench boost later, I would probably play my wildcard the game week before the bench boost. But if I play my bench boost in game week 2, I would like to just see how things goes and keep my wildcard. I had to swap Sells for Sanchez as I changed Solanke to Wood, giving me 4 Forest players. Yeah. So you actually had a triple Nottingham Forest defense. You had Sells, Milinkovic, and Murillo. You're back. How was your holiday? Holiday was fine. Great weather and a nice time. I tried to keep up with the FPL, so on my holiday I actually traveled with my computer and I brought my microphone as well, but didn't really bother to bring all the camera stuff and lighting and all that gear. So Best Arsenal asset, in my opinion, I think Saka still is the best option. Of course, Gyökeres at 9, 1 million less, he could be a really good option. But after watching Arsenal's first friendly with Gyökeres up front, I wasn't really that impressed. So uh, they got a penalty. Of course, both Saka and Gyökeres was not on the pitch, so Ødegaard took the penalty. But I still think that Saka is the first choice penalty taker, and at the moment, with the information we have, I think that Saka still is the best option from Arsenal, to be honest. Do you still have time to rate my team? Yeah, if you head over to X and post a picture on my latest posts, I will get it up on the screen. Best 4.5 goalkeeper. I like Areola. He's in my team at the moment, but I'm kind of leaning towards upgrading Areola to either Cels or Sanchez. But if I were to pick a 4.5, it will probably be Areola. Brighton goalkeeper Verbruggen. He was actually in my team. I had Verbruggen and Areola, but I like Areola better at the moment. So West Ham, they have been rumored actually to sign a goalkeeper from Brazil, Botafogo keeper John, but I've seen some West Ham fans saying that Areola probably still will be first choice, so I wouldn't be that concerned. Did you like DEFCON points, but your defense didn't have much for? I kind of like the idea of DEFCON. I think it brings something new to the game, and of course it makes more players interesting for FPL. But I think that it's probably a bit overrated, to be honest. It's kept at maximum 2 points. So of course, during the course of a season, if you add up all the DEFCON points, it will be significant. But I don't really think that it will have that much of an impact. Of course, it's nice to get two extra points if your defender gets an assist, goal, clean sheets. In addition, we can see some 17 pointers, but I don't think that the DEFCON points is. Or I think it's a bit overrated, as mentioned. And what I don't like about DEFCON is that we will have no live count of DEFCON points like we have for goalkeeper saves. So I think this would have been really interesting, and hopefully it will be implemented. But at the moment, I'm not that carried away by DEFCON, to be honest. But of course, we just have to wait and see how it will impact the game. Thoughts on Gordon? I think that Gordon actually is the best option from Newcastle at the moment. Alexander Isak, he is unsettled. I think that he potentially will stay. The latest news is that he will stay at Newcastle, but he hasn't really trained or played any games this preseason. So I think that Anthony Gordon is the best option from Newcastle. So he has actually played as their number 9, so he is potentially on penalties if Alexander Isak is not on the pitch as well. So I really like Anthony Gordon, to be honest. Maybe DEFCON has been a scam focus on attack, defense, and clean sheets. Yeah, I think that scam. I think that for some players, I think that it's really, really overhyped. Like, I don't see Caicedo as a really good FPL option. Anderson at Nottingham Forest, I've seen him a lot over at X as well. I think that for players with center backs with some attacking threat like Tarkovsky, I think it's decent. Same for Murillo and Milenkovic at Nottingham Forest. Bruno Fernandes as well. He is one of those players that potentially can benefit from the defcon points, but I don't like players that have no attacking threat but a high potential for defcon. I definitely don't like those players. The thing is that you would never captain a player in the hope that he will get 4 points, right? So you will always spend more money on attackers that potentially can get attacking returns. And attacking returns, you can get a hat trick, of course, but you can't get a hat trick of defcon points, so it's capped at maximum 2. So yeah. Let's check X to see if there are any more teams. So Large C07, I can't find your team over at X, so if you're interested, post your team under my latest posts. Just post a screenshot picture and I will get it up on the screen. I thought at the start of the stream that I was able to just put in your team ID and get your team up on the screen, but I think that this is only possible in the history page. So before game week 1, this is not an option. So you need to take a picture of your team and send it over at X. When you have a benching headache, how do you decide gut feeling, data, or usually if it's for attackers, it's more of a gut feeling. If it's for defenders, especially if they're similarly priced and have similar fixtures, I go with the clean sheet odds more often than not, to be honest. So let's say it's between Van de Ven or Konsa to 4.5 defenders. I would probably just go with the team with the highest clean sheet percentage given by the bookies. But when it comes to attackers, I think it's more interesting, and as you say, it's more of a gut feeling, and I would probably go for player form. And sometimes, to be honest, if it's really hard to decide, I will pick the player from the game I will watch. But this is down on the list for my decision making in FPL. But if it's really, really close, 50-50 decision, I will potentially pick the player in my starting 11 that I will watch live. Another rule when it comes to those benching headaches is that I usually tend to play the most expensive player, because if you put your most expensive player on the bench, it feels terrible if they do well and you have a cheap player blanking in your starting 11. So it feels better if you have a cheap player on your bench delivering. Of course, every time a player on your bench does well, it's not a good feeling, but at least I think it's better having a cheap player on the bench with a goal rather than an expensive playing player on the bench, because you're trying to be smart. ALG, thanks for trying. Um, I'll check in a minute. If you're interested, I still have time. I will be live for a couple of more minutes. So if you're interested, Lachi, go post that picture. Matt Wheel, what was the best decision you made last season in FPL? Most impact could be a captain choice or a differential that did well. I actually talked about this earlier on this stream. A couple of decisions that helped me get a decent rank last season is that I was early with bringing in Jared Bowen, and I gave him the captain's armband when he did well. So I think that this was around game week. It was around Christmas, or the game week 19, 20. So captaining Jared Bowen and bringing him in early was probably one of the best decisions for me last season. I had a terrible start. I started with Mo Salah. He did okay, but Erling Haaland really smashed it in the opening game week. So I sold Mo Salah in game week 6 to bring in Erling Haaland, but all of a sudden Mo Salah really exploded while the goals dried up for Erling Haaland. So in game week 8, around 8, 9, 10, I was ranked 5 million. So a really horrible, horrible start. Sorry, man, I got to go. I'll keep up to date with your videos. You have been making awesome preseason content. Keep it up. Thanks. Really appreciate it. I'm kind of satisfied with this preseason, to be honest. I knew that I was going away for 14 days, so I was kind of worried that I wouldn't be able to put up any content, and this is really bad for the channel, right? So luckily, I found a way to at least post some videos during preseason, and watch time hours has been okay as well. So thanks for noticing, and of course, thanks for the kind words. Really glad you enjoy the videos, and hopefully you continue watching them. I will try to actually up the game a bit and make 2 videos each week, and of course I will continue with the usual Friday Q&As, and when I find the time I will do deadline streams as well. So I did the same, got rid of Salah for Haaland in game week 6 Spain. Yeah, this was so frustrating last season, and I did something similar in 23-24 as well, went without Erling Haaland. So hopefully, third time lucky going without Haaland. Hopefully, it will work out this season and that Norwegian will have a slow start. See you around. Good luck in game week 1. Thanks for joining in, Matt. Thanks for all the good questions, and best of luck for game week 1 to you as well. Really like your content. Thanks, Virat. Really appreciate it. as mentioned, I'll try to make 2 videos. So one of them will be an early look at the next game week, and I will post a team selection video closer to the deadline. This is at least the plan, but there is a lot of time spent on making a YouTube video, to be honest. So at first you have to make the graphics, then you have to do the recording and the editing. So I think that I usually spend like 5 to 6 hours on one video. And one video is like 10 minutes. I know I'm not the best content creator. I'm not really good at editing, filming, making graphics, but I'll get better when I compare my videos from last season, at the beginning of last season to the end of the season. I think that the quality is much, much better. So hopefully the quality of the content will continue to get a bit better each time. So that's good enough for me. So there are a couple of things that I can do that instantly will make my content better. I can start paying for editing software, and I can do one of the subscriptions at Canva to get a better quality, stuff like that. So there are a couple of things I can do, but this will cost money as well. So at the moment, I don't spend any money on creating content. I have so OBS, what I use for recording OBS is a free software. Anyone can just download it and actually use it for this stream as well. And I use it for recording. So I make graphics in the free version in Canva, upload it to OBS. I add my camera and microphone and do recordings, and I use a free editing software as well. I think it's called Clipchamps. It was just one of those programs that was on my Windows computer. So I actually talked with a guy earlier this summer, or was it back in May, April, something like that. We were discussing FPL content, and not just FPL content, but just creating videos in general. And I actually think that I said I will make a video about making videos for free, but I haven't really found the time, but I should probably try to get it done. But 1 week until the FPL deadline, so I will probably use most of my time on FPL content, to be honest. So my plan is to upload a lot of shorts in the next couple of days. I actually have recorded a short for every team, so I made videos with the top 3 best FPL players from every team. The videos, they are available on my channel, so if you're interested, go check them out. Would be really appreciated if you give a like and a comment as well. But I also have recorded some shorts from each team, so I will edit them. Maybe I'll find the time tomorrow. So I think that I have actually a lot to do. So for next week, I will do a live Q&A Thursday, the night before the deadline. So the deadline is on a Friday, so this is why I'm having a Thursday Q&A, and I will have a deadline stream a couple of hours before the deadline as well. The competition in the FPL community and on YouTube is really steep, so all interactions are really, really appreciated. Nixie, evening mate, thanks for joining in. Nixie, if you haven't done so, go vote in the poll. Sanchez or Matzels. It's 50-50. That's not helpful, guys. I have Areola at the moment, but I want to upgrade to either Matzels or Sanchez, the Chelsea goalkeeper. Do you have an FPL league? Yes, I do. It's linked in the description down below. The code is QHZSFI. The scrolling text in the bottom. The code for the league is in there. I think I added the auto join link in the description of the stream as well. So if you're interested in joining the league, that would be really cool. There is actually a prize. You can't really quit your job if you win Mime in league. It's £50 just for fun, but Forest has more clean sheets. Yeah, I think that at some point last season they did really well for clean sheets. Was it around Christmas? Matzels did really well. But I think that Chelsea can do well. Of course, Colville injured. How will this impact the Chelsea defense? So for me at the moment, Matzels is definitely the safest option. I spoke about the ownership from the Nottingham Forest defense. Matzels, he is selected by a lot as well, and they have some well-known centre backs, Murillo, Milenkovic, Williams as well. So Chelsea defense not good. They looked a bit better at the end of the season, did well in the Club World Cup as well, in my opinion. But you're probably right, Matzels is probably the safest option. So I really don't like the new FPL page, to be honest. Like if you have it zoomed in, you don't really see all of the screens. You have to zoom in and out to confirm transfers, substitutions, and stuff like that. I agree, feels like a downgrade. Yeah, I actually liked the page last season, but usually it is when we get some big upgrades, the users are probably a bit unsettled at the start. But I think that this is not just some starting hiccups for the new page. I think that actually it's much worse, and I can't really see any benefits with the new page, to be honest. But of course we'll get used to it. And one of the other things that I think they have, it's been a bit better recently, but last week I just had to log in every time I visited FPL, so it automatically logged out from my FPL account, so I need to put in my mail and password. So of course the mail and password was saved on my computer, so not that hard, but a couple of extra clicks. That's a bit annoying. triple captain when this is not locked in. I spoke about my chip strategy. Bench boost in game week 2 is close to being locked in, but at the moment my plan is to triple captain in game week 14 when Liverpool play at home at Anfield against Sunderland. But of course, game week 14, it's a long way to go, so a lot of things can happen. Mo Salah, he might actually be injured come game week 14, so if Mo Salah is fit, if he looks ready to start, and if Liverpool does well, game week 14 is probably a really good game week for the triple captain. Another thing is that Mo Salah, he can be injured in game week 11, 12 and 13. Maybe he's back for game week 14, but I will definitely not captain him if he's eased in. So there are a lot of scenarios. I think it's actually too early to lock in a chip strategy at the moment, but of course a good strategy is to look at potential strategies. So that's what I'm doing, and game week 14 is my current plan, but it's really tentative, so I might go for someone else as well. If Cole Palmer can find some form, he can be a potential triple captain candidate. Watkins as well, especially if he's the first choice penalty taker for Aston Villa. I wouldn't mind triple captaining him. I think that there will be a lot of chips used in game week 1 and game week 2 this season. I think that a lot of managers will play their triple captain or bench boost in game week 1. So if you get a bad rank in game week 1, I don't think that we should be frustrated after game week 1, because I think that a lot of managers will use a chip in game week 1. Bench boost is such an annoying chip for me. I won't spend much money and effort and planning for it. Now, I kind of agree bench boost is one of the most overrated chips in my opinion, so I will most probably just use my bench boost in game week 2. And this is the reason why I actually have Arias in my team at the moment, to have a strong bench for game week 2. I will have the possibility in game week 4, game week 5, when I've saved up a couple of transfers, to downgrade one of my players to a 4.5 to upgrade in other areas. I took an example earlier today, was like if I sell Welbeck to a 4.5, I can upgrade, say, Marmouche to Saka, something like that. So Welbeck to Guihi, even though if he plays or not, doesn't really matter. He will sit last on my bench. Welbeck to Guihi, I can do Marmouche to Saka. But this will be done after I've used my first bench boost. Matt Whelan, I'm being super aggressive. Bench boost game week 1, free hit game week 2, wildcard game week 4. Game week 4, set myself up for 5 weeks. Mini wildcard in game week 9, set up for 5 weeks. And 5 free transfers in game week 16. I think that seeing you have locked your chips that early, it makes sense. Bench boosting game week 1, it's possible to select 15 strong players for game week 1, and we will get press conferences with a lot of information. We usually do this before game week 1, so bench boosting game week 1 is a good strategy in my opinion. Free hit in game week 2, wildcard in game week 4. Of course, you need to see how your team does, but definitely if you need to wildcard in game week 4, it's probably a good week for it. I haven't really looked at fixture swings that early because I haven't really planned on an early wildcard this season, but wildcard is definitely the strongest chip you can of course, get the players that are in form, and of course, catch some good fixtures as well, and hopefully some price increases. So the wildcard is really powerful, but at the moment, I've not yet decided when I will use my first wildcard. I keep changing my team so much every day. Actually, I have been on the same team for around a week, but I actually made a couple of changes today, and I literally made a transfer 10 minutes ago, sold Areola to bring in Mats Sells. The other transfer I did earlier today was to sell. I had a 4.5 midfield fodder, but I sold him to bring in Arias, and this is because I am planning to use my bench boost in game week 2. Free hit in game week 2, triple Arsenal home to Wolves, main reason. I think that now that we have 2 free hit chips, I think that, as you say, Matt Whelan, targeting fixtures like that is a really good strategy. We will not have any big blank game week, so we won't need a free hit to cover for blanks. So I think being aggressive and targeting good fixtures is the way to go. So I will probably do something similar game week 2 Arsenal at home against Leeds. I have no Arsenal in my team at the moment, so I like the idea of free hitting in game week 2, to be honest. Home to Leeds, yeah. Nixie, I'm on draft 187. I actually haven't had that many drafts. I made a first draft video the same day as the game launched. I was on this for actually a week, made some changes, posted a new video, and I've been on this team for a week before making some transfers today. So during the week, I will make another video with an updated team, and this will probably be my final draft. I think I'm getting really close. I like this team at the moment. A couple of changes I made from my first draft is that I have Mo Salah. I started actually without both Haaland and Salah. I had Wirtz and Saka in my team instead of Salah and Jai. And this is probably the biggest changes from my first draft. I've gone from no premiums to 3 premiums. I think the pricing is really good this season, though. I think that there are a lot of good options. There are some decisions to be made, and no player really picks himself. I think that no one is standing out as really overpriced or underpriced. So I think that they got the pricing right this season. Does Villa new striker not worry you with Watkins? So from what I've heard, I think that he is more of a attacking midfielder. I read a piece about the new signing for Aston Villa and that potentially Malm could see limited game time. Definitely need to look more into it, but from what I've seen so far, I think that Watkins is still nailed on. But I remember actually when Aston Villa had Duran up front, he actually started some of the games ahead of Watkins. Feels like 10 years ago, but I think it was last season, at the start of last season, at the end of the 23-24 season, maybe. John Duran did really well. He was like a super sub, reminded me of Solskjaer for Man United in the 90s came in, scored in every game. Nice, I currently have Watkins, so that's reassuring. Yeah, I read something about him still being nailed, so it was from a reliable source. It's AFC Villain on X. He usually has quite good control of the Aston Villa team and new signings and stuff like that, so I trust him, and I think that Watkins is still nailed and that new signing is not a typical number 9. If Wissa leaves Brentford, do you think Thiago is a good option? I definitely think Thiago will be a good option. I talked about this in a couple of my videos as well. I probably will go for Thiago if Wissa leaves. So Welbeck to Thiago, and this will give me 0.5 as well. So starting number 9 for Brentford, and he will most probably be on penalties as well. So yeah, really good option. But if Wissa stays, I will probably just stay away altogether, to be honest. So there have been a lot of changes in the Brentford side. I actually had Wissa in my first draft before the rumors about him leaving the club. I had both Alexander Isak and Wissa, but they will definitely not be in my game week 1 team. So if you're interested, go watch my videos. I posted 4 videos where I take a look at every Premier League team and rank the best FPL assets from every team. So if you're interested, go watch those videos. That will be really, really appreciated. I will be live next Thursday, the day before the deadline, and I will have a deadline stream on Friday, a couple of hours before the deadline as well. So thanks for joining in. Thanks for all the questions. And if I don't talk to you before the deadline, best of luck for game week 1, and hopefully I'll see you later. I will actually go edit a couple of shorts after this stream. I just need to get some food. So if you're interested, go watch those shorts as well. And of course, the videos I just talked about with the top 3 FPL picks from every team. So if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. That will be really appreciated, and join the mini league. It's linked down in the description. Next time, hopefully, I have a better way to looking at your teams, but hopefully you enjoyed this stream, and hopefully I'll see you next time.